Okay, welcome everyone to my review of The Eagle Has Landed. I decided to do a review on this movie, which I just actually seen. Yes, I know the movie came out in 1976, but I have not seen this movie until yesterday, actually. And I figured let me do a review on it, just guys give you a heads up, just in case you're wondering, hey, maybe this is on my movie list that I want to see. You can get a first-hand review now. So let me give you some backstory. The reason I decided to see this movie is a friend recommended it. We were talking about some good World War II movies, like Bridge Too Far, Battle of the Bulge, and The Boys from Brazil. Now, when I suggest The Boys from Brazil and we were talking about it, he recommended this movie because he says, I think you'll like it. It's a little like The Boys from Brazil. And I said, all right, let me try it out. So first of all, I enjoy the cast. Michael Caine, Robert Duvall, and Donald Sutherland, really high-end actors, and they did incredible performances. This is my first pro, actually. They were really great, especially Michael Caine, obviously. I mean, these guys are professional actors. They're really good at what they do, and it really shone in this movie. In fact, it was the only thing allowing me to continue watching the movie. Beyond that, there was not much. So that was basically all I watched the movie for, was these performances while I continue watching the movie. There's also a surprise ending at the end, unexpected surprise ending that I didn't see. I'm not going to release a spoiler here. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens. If you want to find out, you'll have to actually watch the movie. But suffice to say, it was a really unexpected surprise ending, and I was kind of like, yeah, that was cool. All right, interesting. Was it worth waiting 2 hours to see? No, it was not. So, yeah, it was a good surprise ending, not worth 2 hours to wait for. Now the cons. Those are only two pros that I could find. I was trying to find more and more. I couldn't get them. Cons. So the first one, the unrealistic mission importance. So the entire thing about the movie was that the Germans were going to abduct or kill Winston Churchill. Now that's very unrealistic in terms of the Germans' plan or in terms of any type of coherent mission. Primarily because a good example of this is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin FDR died and nothing happened. The United States didn't leave the war, didn't didn't delay the war. I mean, it didn't do anything to stop or change the war. Truman took office and he just continued war as if Roosevelt was still alive. So the actual story of the movie, what the Germans intended was like, well, if we abduct Winston Churchill, it's going to delay the war. Well, no, because obviously FDR died and that didn't do anything. And another thing was, well, at least if it won't delay the war, well, at least we can get a negotiated peace. Again, unrealistic because Roosevelt died and there was no peace, So it's not realistic. And it's even worse for England because, they went through the Battle of Britain. By 1943, the English population were hard as nails. Had Winston Churchill died, or anything, if he slipped in the shower and hit his head and died, that wouldn't have ended the war. The English people would have said, all right, well, we're still going to kick your ass, and fight the war. They're not going to just say, yeah, we lost Winston Churchill, so we're done. That wasn't going to happen. So the whole concept of the movie was just, wasn't there. And this kind of resulted throughout the entire movie. So while watching the movie, it's like, all right, halfway through, you're already an hour into the movie. It's just like, you kind of find it hard to continue going on because even if they're successful, it's never going to result in anything. But I continued because I did want to see Michael Caine and Robert Duvall, their performances and such. Second con, combat scenes in the game. Combat scenes in the movie were very unrealistic. couple of good examples of this when there was actual combat fighting is soldiers seemed like they had unlimited ammunition. The Americans who had the M1 carbine, it looked like they were firing automatic weapons. They just pressed the trigger and kind of firing like not even an M16, M4, on auto. Like, those weapons didn't do that. They were semi-automatic, so I don't understand how this weapon's firing automatic now. And everybody has it, down to the private has a, M1 that's firing automatic. And they're just holding down the trigger, and you can see them in some scenes holding it down for 20, 30 seconds. And it's like, okay, that magazine doesn't have that much ammo. Okay, because it's way more than 15 rounds, which at that time, that's what the magazine held. So it was very unrealistic. It was like they were firing, and they never changed out their magazines either. So they were just, for 20 seconds, like on scene, whenever the scene was going on, they were just it was just like, okay, well, when are they going to change their magazine? Because obviously they ran out of ammo long ago. But it was really weird. And the Germans had the same thing. They were just firing and firing and firing. No one changing out magazines. They would just keep firing. It was just very unrealistic. This movie was also... my third comment would be the movie was long movie. It was 2 hours and approximately 15 minutes. I'm fine with long movies. I am. I saw recently Fury, which was over 2 hours. But it was a good movie. It kept you on the edge of your seat. And I was like, oh man, get out of here, that happened. This movie was like, oh my gosh, please end. I just want this movie to end already. It was kind of like that. And I just, after 2 hours, it was just like I was done. There were also some unrealistic scenes. This is my fourth con of the movie. Some of the scenes were really kind of weird. I'll give you a good example. So the German paratroop unit, which was led by Michael Caine, paradropped into England, totally unmolested. They just dropped on the beach, right? There were no English aircraft in the air, kind of asking them to identify, or the English, whatever plane they were coming on being destroyed. No, they safely landed on the beach. They got past the minefield, no one hurt. They got all the way onto the beach, into whatever truck, whatever, and made it all the way inland. Without a single British soldier, constabulary, anybody to say, hey, what are you guys doing here? And even though they were disguised as Polish soldiers, you kind of would expect somebody to be on the beach like, I need to see something because, this is not right. But it seemed like the whole English countryside was devoid, of anybody there actually in a war. Everyone was going on, farming and being at the pub and, life going as is without even a war going on. Which is hard to believe because in 1943, the English were heavy into the war. They had, a home guard at that time. They had a lot of people involved in the defense effort. Those beaches would have people watching them. They would have people there. They would have, troops along the coast. It seemed like there was no troops to begin with besides a few dozen Americans that were 8-10 miles away. Which is really weird. And the American unit, which is a Ranger unit, was 8 miles away. And they only had, they were being led by a colonel. And there's only about 100 of them, if that. It was just really weird. It just didn't make sense. And a colonel leading 40 soldiers into the field, it just didn't make sense. But that's me. So that's it, guys. I really didn't enjoy this movie. It lacked a lot of things. From the concept was just all the way down to combat scenes, the unrealistic environment of the way England was in 1943. I mean, I couldn't believe any of it. The only thing that was kind of good was the performances of the major actors. That's the only thing this movie did right. And I can tell you, for a 2-hour and 15-minute movie, it's not worth to see. So unfortunately, that's my review for The Eagle Has Landed. So that's about it, guys. I will catch you guys in the next review. See you then.